The silent call. The oceans of Terran Prime had always been a place of serenity and enlightenment. For thousands of years, the Terrans, an aquatic species with luminescent skin and telepathic abilities, had built their crystalline cities beneath the vast seas of their homeworld. They were philosophers, artists, and scholars who had never known the true meaning of conflict. Their evolution in the gentle embrace of their world's waters had shaped them into beings of peace and contemplation. But peace, as the galaxy often teaches, is a fragile thing. The Void Reavers arrived without warning. Massive obsidian ships descended from the stars, their hulls adorned with the trophies of 100 conquered worlds. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply began to harvest. Massive extraction beams tore into the oceans, pulling up water, resources, and screaming Terrans alike. The crystalline cities shattered under pressure waves as the invaders' machines bored into the planet's crust. Within days, the once pristine world had become a nightmare of boiling seas and crumbling civilization. In the deepest trench of the Southern Ocean, in a secret chamber known only to the Council of Elders, the last surviving leaders of the Terrans gathered around an ancient device. The cosmic resonator had been built millennia ago, during the early days of their civilization when they still feared the stars. It had never been used, until now. Elder Navarra, her skin pulsing with fading blue light, placed her webbed hands on the crystalline controls. "We have no choice," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Our people die by the millions. Our world is being torn apart. We must send the call." Elder Morin, the oldest of them all, shook his head slowly. "The legends say the call may reach those we do not intend. There are predators in the dark between stars, Navarra. Apex hunters from worlds that would break our bodies and minds." "Then, let it reach them," Navarra replied, her eyes hardening with resolve. "For if they are predators, perhaps they will be predators who hunt our hunters." With trembling fingers, she activated the ancient machine. The cosmic resonator hummed to life, its crystal components spinning faster and faster until they blurred. A pulse of energy, not just radio waves or light, but something deeper, something that resonated with the very essence of sentient pain and desperation, burst outward from the device, rippling through subspace in all directions. It was a primal scream in a language older than words, carrying the simple, desperate message, "Help us. We are dying." The Terrans didn't expect an answer. By the time the signal reached any advanced civilization, their world would likely be nothing but a barren rock, stripped of its seas and its people. But they sent it anyway, a final act of defiance, a testimony that they had existed and had cried out against their extinction. What they couldn't know was that their desperate call would reach further than they ever imagined, slipping through a quantum fissure and crossing vast reaches of space in an instant, straight to a world that the galaxy had learned to fear. Earth. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility known only to a select few humans, a detection system designed to monitor the darkest reaches of space suddenly activated. The signal was unlike anything the system had been programmed to recognize. Not a standard communication protocol or known alien language. It was pure emotion, raw desperation, the unmistakable psychic imprint of a species facing extinction. "Dr. Ian." Amara Singh stood before the holographic display, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing red alert symbols. Around her, technicians worked frantically to analyze the signal, tracing its origin across unfathomable distances. "It's coming from the Carina Sagittarius arm," one of them announced. "Approximately 15,000 light-years from Earth. But the signal, it's impossible. It shouldn't have reached us for thousands of years." "Quantum entanglement," Amara murmured. "They've discovered it too." She turned to her assistant. "Get me Commander Chen, now." Within an hour, the highest levels of Earth's Unified Defense Command had assembled in the control center. At the head of the table sat Commander Alara Chen, a woman whose calm demeanor masked a mind that had orchestrated the defense of human colonies across 3 star systems. Her silver-streaked black hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and the scars on her face told stories of battles fought and won. "Show me," she ordered simply. The room darkened, and a holographic representation of the signal filled the air. Not just sound or light, but a three-dimensional emotion map that pulsed with fear, pain, and a desperate plea for help. The Terrans, explained Dr. Singh. An aquatic species we've observed from a distance but never contacted. Their technology is advanced in unique ways, but they've never developed weapons of war. They're being systematically exterminated by an unknown hostile force. Commander Chen's eyes narrowed, and they called for help. Not just to their neighbors, Amara added. To anyone listening, it seems their signal found a quantum pathway directly to us. Whether by chance or design, we don't know. A heavy silence fell over the room. Humanity had maintained its isolation from the wider galactic community for decades, ever since the Proxima incident had revealed just how dangerous the universe could be. Earth had learned the hard way that among the stars, power was respected, far more than diplomacy. We have non-interference protocols, began Admiral Vega, an older man with a perpetual frown. The Terrans are not our allies. Their fight is not— They asked for help, Chen interrupted, her voice quiet but unyielding. It doesn't matter who they are. It matters what we are. She stood, placing her hands on the table as she looked at each person in the room. Humanity spent its childhood believing we were alone in the universe. We spent our adolescence fearing what might be out there. Now we're adults, and we know the truth. The galaxy is full of both wonders and horrors, and we are neither the weakest nor the most merciful species among the stars. She touched a control, and the hologram shifted to show Earth's hidden fleet. Sleek, deadly vessels designed not for exploration, but for war, built using technologies reverse-engineered from both allies and enemies encountered over the last century. Operation Longreach, she declared. I want the Cerberus battle group ready for departure in 12 hours. Full combat loadout. We'll take the quantum corridor through the Carina fissure. Admiral Vega's face paled. That route hasn't been properly mapped. It's suicide. Chen's lips curved in a cold smile. It's also the only way to reach the Terrans before they're wiped out. And if there's one thing humans excel at, Admiral, it's surviving where others cannot. The meeting ended, and orders flew across secure channels to hidden bases around the solar system. Within hours, ships that most of humanity didn't even know existed began to power up their engines. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of the EDF Nemesis, the flagship of humanity's intervention force. Through the viewscreen, she watched as 19 other warships formed up around them, a tiny fraction of Earth's total military strength, but a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. These weren't the sleek, graceful vessels of the inner sphere species, designed to impress and intimidate through beauty. These were weapons, pure and simple, angular, brutalist shapes bristling with gun emplacements and missile tubes, their hulls composed of layered metamaterials that absorbed or deflected both energy and kinetic attacks. They were built by a species that had evolved on a death world, that had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts, plagues and nuclear war, that had clawed its way up from caves to the stars through sheer stubborn determination. And they carried soldiers who embodied that same spirit, men and women who trained in environments that would kill most other sentient species in minutes. All ships report ready, Commander, announced Lieutenant Park from his station. QC calculations complete. The corridor is unstable but navigable. Chen nodded. Send to all ships. We are the answer to a call. Whatever awaits us on the other side, remember that we carry with us the full measure of humanity's resolve. These people asked for help. We will not fail them. She took her seat and fastened the combat restraints. Engage quantum corridor drive. Take us to the Terrans. The space before the Earth fleet seemed to stretch and tear, creating a swirling tunnel of blue-white energy, a shortcut through the fabric of reality itself. One by one, the massive warships accelerated and vanished into the vortex, leaving behind only a ripple in the vacuum of space. The journey through the quantum corridor was never meant to be attempted with vessels this size. The tunnel shook and buckled around them, alarms blaring as structural integrity fields strained to their limits. Twice they nearly lost ships as the corridor tried to collapse, saved only by emergency corrections from the AI navigators. But humans had always excelled at doing the impossible, and 7 nerve-wracking hours later, the fleet erupted back into normal space at the edge of the Terran system. What greeted them was worse than they had imagined. The once beautiful oceanic world was surrounded by dozens of massive harvester ships, obsidian structures that resembled enormous insects with cruel, sharp appendages that plunged into the planet below. Already, nearly a third of the world's oceans had been extracted, leaving behind cracked, barren wastelands where vibrant seas had once flourished. "Life signs?" Chen asked quietly. "Scattered and faint," replied the sensor officer. "Mostly concentrated in the deepest ocean trenches. Population reduced by approximately 80% from our last survey." Chen felt cold fury building inside her chest, a sensation she had experienced only a few times in her long career. She had seen the aftermath of atrocities before, had arrived too late to save innocent lives. Not this time. "Tactical assessment of enemy vessels," she ordered. Lieutenant Commander Reyes, her tactical officer, studied his displays with a professional eye. 27 capital ships, approximately 50 support vessels. Energy signatures suggest advanced plasma weaponry and reinforced shields. "These are not primitive attackers, Commander. They know what they're doing." "And yet," Chen replied, her voice deceptively soft, "they've never met us." She opened a channel to the fleet. "All vessels implement combat protocol hammerstrike. Weapons free, tactical independence authorized. Priority targets are the harvester vessels currently engaged with the planet. Let's introduce ourselves." As the human fleet accelerated toward the unsuspecting invaders, Chen had one last thought before battle was joined. "You called for predators, Terrans. And that is exactly what you're going to get." The Void Reavers focused on their harvest had no warning until it was too late. Wrath of the apex predators, the first sign that something had changed, came when 3 harvester ships simply disappeared in blinding flashes of light. No warning, no distress calls. Just existence, then obliteration. The Void Reavers, accustomed to encountering only minimal resistance from their victims, hesitated in confusion. That hesitation cost them dearly. The human fleet struck with the precision and brutality of natural-born killers. Railguns accelerated tungsten rods to relativistic speeds, turning them into projectiles that punched through the Reavers' supposedly impenetrable shields as if they were tissue paper. Quantum-locked missiles phased partially out of normal space until the moment of impact, allowing them to bypass defensive systems entirely before detonating with thermonuclear fury. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Chen watched the battle unfold with cold calculation. The Reavers were scrambling now, their harvest forgotten as they attempted to form a defensive perimeter. Their return fire, streams of superheated plasma, was powerful but predictable, easily avoided by ships with human reflexes and AI-assisted navigation. "They're using standardized tactics," observed Lieutenant Commander Reyes. "Textbook responses to a frontal assault." Chen nodded. "They're used to being the apex predator. They don't know how to be prey." She tapped a series of commands into her console. "All ships implement Phase 2. Let's show them what happens when you hunt on our territory." The human fleet suddenly shifted tactics. Instead of continuing their direct assault, they broke formation and began executing seemingly random maneuvers. Except there was nothing random about it. This was the chaotic, unpredictable combat style that had evolved from centuries of humans fighting humans, refined through dozens of interstellar engagements. While 5 ships continued to engage the main Reaver fleet, drawing their attention and fire, the others executed micro-jumps, impossibly precise quantum corridor hops that placed them directly alongside Reaver vessels for just long enough to unleash devastation before jumping away again. On her tactical display, Chen watched with satisfaction as enemy ships began to fall one after another. The Reavers were learning, adapting their tactics, but too slowly, too late. "Commander," called out the communications officer, "we're picking up transmissions between the Reaver ships. The AI is translating. They're calling us demons. They're asking what we are." A cold smile touched Chen's lips. "Let's answer them." She opened a broadband channel, transmitting on all frequencies the Reavers were using. Her voice, translated by the ship's AI into the harsh, clicking language of the invaders, echoed across every enemy vessel. "We are human. You attacked those under our protection. This is your only warning. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed." The response came quickly, a barrage of energy weapons directed at the Nemesis. Chen nodded, unsurprised. As expected. All ships, execute. Endgame protocols. Authorization Chen Delta 7. Throughout the human fleet, weapon systems that had been held in reserve now activated. These weren't the conventional arms of interstellar warfare. These were humanity's darkest creations, weapons designed as last resorts against existential threats. Quantum disruption beams lashed out from specialized emitters, temporarily weakening the atomic bonds of matter itself within their target areas. Void torpedoes created miniature, short-lived black holes upon detonation, tearing apart anything caught in their gravitational maelstrom. And most terrifying of all, chronofragmentation weapons distorted time itself around enemy vessels, causing different sections of the same ship to experience time at different rates, ripping them apart from within as internal stresses became unbearable. Within minutes, the space around Terran Prime became a graveyard of broken Reaver ships. A few attempted to flee, powering up their FTL drives in desperation, only to be caught by precisely targeted graviton beams that collapsed their drive fields and left them stranded. "Enemy fleet neutralized," reported Reyes the professional, tone of his voice unable to completely hide his awe at what they had just accomplished. 5 vessels remain, all disabled and drifting. Chen nodded, then turned to her XO. "Commander Santos, prepare boarding parties. Full combat loadout, Class A. Xenobiological precautions. I want prisoners and data." As the boarding teams deployed, Chen focused her attention on the planet below. "Begin rescue operations. Get our medical ships down to the surface. Priority is stabilizing their remaining ocean ecosystems and treating wounded civilians." "Yes, Commander," replied Santos. "And the prisoners?" Chen's eyes hardened. "They will explain why they attacked this world, and then they will help us find any other worlds they've targeted. The galaxy just became a much more dangerous place for those who prey on the innocent." On the surface of Terran Prime, in the depths of the Southern Ocean Trench, Elder Navarra and the few surviving members of the Council huddled in their final sanctuary. The water around them had grown cold and murky as the invaders' machines disrupted the planet's natural systems. Many had already died from toxins and pressure changes. The rest expected to join them soon. Then a new vibration in the water, different from the harsh grinding sensation of the harvesters. This was steady, controlled, and it was approaching. Through the gloom came lights, not the harsh beams of the invaders, but softer illumination that swept methodically through the water. And then, shapes unlike anything the Terrans had seen before. Humanoid figures in sleek armored suits, moving through the water with surprising grace despite their obvious adaptation for land. The lead figure approached slowly, hands empty and raised in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. From an external speaker came sounds, attempts at communication in various frequencies, including the telepathic spectrum the Terrans used. With trembling courage, Elder Navarra reached out her mind toward the strange being. "Who are you?" The response came not as words but as carefully controlled impressions. "Humans. From Earth." "We heard your call." Navarra's luminescence flickered in shock. "You came from beyond the stars because we called?" The human nodded inside their helmet. More impressions followed. "The harvesters are gone. Your world is safe. We will help you rebuild." For the first time in weeks, hope blossomed in the elder's heart. "You answered. You fought for us." "Why?" The human seemed to consider this, then projected a single, powerful impression. Not a thought exactly, but a core principle that radiated from their mind with unshakable conviction. Because that's what humans do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. In the days that followed, the true scope of the human response became clear. Massive vessels positioned, themselves around Terran Prime, deploying technology that began to repair the ecological damage. Water that had been extracted was gradually replaced with carefully filtered oceanic material from compatible worlds in nearby systems. Crystalline structures were reinforced or rebuilt using techniques that honored Terran aesthetics while incorporating more resilient materials. From the few captured reavers, the humans extracted information about other worlds targeted for harvesting, and immediately dispatched additional forces to investigate and intervene if necessary. The message was clear. Earth had emerged from its isolation, and it would not tolerate predation upon innocent species. Commander Chen stood in the observation deck of the Nemesis, watching teams of human engineers working alongside Terran architects to rebuild a shattered city. Behind her, Elder Navarra floated in a specially designed water chamber that allowed her to meet with the human leader face to face. "Your people have done more than save us," the Elder transmitted telepathically. "You have changed the very nature of our existence. We never knew such violence was possible, nor such compassion immediately after." Chen smiled slightly. "Humanity contains multitudes, Elder. We can be your worst nightmare or your staunchest ally." The Reavers discovered one face of humanity. "You're seeing another. And the galaxy? What will they think of your emergence?" "That remains to be seen," Chen replied. "But this much is clear. Humanity will no longer stand aside while innocent species are exterminated. We've watched from the shadows for too long, telling ourselves it wasn't our concern." She turned to face the Terran Elder. "Your call changed that. You reminded us of who we are supposed to be." Navarra's skin pulsed with curious blue patterns. "And who is that, Commander?" Chen looked back toward the planet, where human and Terran worked side by side to heal a wounded world. Protectors, teachers, and when necessary, warriors. As she spoke, a message arrived from Earth Command, the first of many alliance requests from species who had heard what happened at Terran Prime. The age of human isolation was over. In the vast darkness between stars, word spread quickly. "Beware, the Deathworlders, for they have awakened." Yet alongside that warning came another message, whispered among the oppressed and the vulnerable. "If you are in peril, if predators stalk your world, call out to Earth. They will answer. And when they come, they bring both sword and shield.